Call the meeting. Thank you. Call the Estacada Traffic Public Safety Committee to order. First, can you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good. All right. You have a roll call, please, Ellen. Oh, my goodness.
All right, Commissioner Owens,
Here.
Commissioner Sedgeberg,
Here.
Commissioner Dobbs,
Here.
Commissioner Dolezal,
Here.
Chair Moriarty.
Here.
Somebody missing? Or is that it?
Five.
Five.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, thank you. And do we have any sheets from the community? Anyone like to speak? Ladies, no? All right. Excellent. All right, on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the September 26, 2023 minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
A motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Motion passes. On to presentations and reports. Chief, take it away.
Thank you. We discussed this at the last meeting that a presentation on stats for crime stats in the city of Estacada, call activity for the city of Estacada. While I was reviewing that, I have to apologize because I thought it probably would be better. I mentioned this yesterday, probably better to wait until the end of this year and then just do an entire year in review for 2023. And then we can compare that to 22 and 21. So that'll be my intention to do that. And then, but I do want to just report to you that while looking at the crime stats, are happy to report that our property crimes are down significantly, which is a positive thing. So looking at that, I'm happy about that, and we'll see if we can keep that going. I did glance at the stats, as I had mentioned, that I had noticed that last year there was a peak during this month. I have not seen an uptick, and then looking back to the previous year for 2021, there was no uptick during this month. So I'd have to dig back to see in 22 exactly what was going on in October. It just looked like there's an uptick in reported crimes at that time. I did also mention yesterday at the city council meeting that our new deputy would be starting tomorrow, and I was mistaken on that. He and I are meeting tomorrow. He is tomorrow's his last day of training in the county, and then he'll get a day off on Thursday, and he will start on Friday. I'm sorry, I reported that he was going to start on Thursday. He's starting on Friday. So he and I will get a chance to chat tomorrow, and then next week when he's in, I'll introduce him to some people here at the city, and he'll be off and running. So I'm excited to have him.
Good.
And that is that's all I have for a report, and I'll probably weigh in. We're going to talk about the I believe we're going to discuss some budget stuff that the city manager had provided.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Anyone have anything for the chief? No? Okay, just had a quick question. Has there been any change on arrests? Have they been up or down? Or I don't mean this year, but just recently. Because someone asked me about that, since everything is going down reported crime wise. I just want to know if things are flat or up.
I didn't look specifically at arrests, other than I did look at the criminal or excuse me, vehicle crimes. So DUI, I looked at that. That was down as well, which, you know, a DUI is an interesting one because that can be something that's reported, that somebody sees it or somebody crashes and calls that in. But a lot of times DUIs are also through what the deputy sees, so self-initiated work. And so that a drop in DUI arrests could be reflective of that there's less in the community or that there was less patrol in the community, one or the other. So that's hard to tell with just a short period of time, but that's the only one that I had looked at.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Jim, I'm sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
thought I didn't have anything, but now I do. Do you have, and if you don't have it ready right now, it's no problem because I know I'm kind of hitting you blindsided. I'm kind of interested in how crime is at the schools compared to just the city in general. So when you give us our crime stats, are some of those arrests being done against some students that are doing things wrong there at the school that we're unaware of compared to just the overall community?
Mhm.
Or are we pretty much crime free there and all the stats you're giving us are just the community stuff?
Yeah, the stats that I'm giving are for the city as a whole. So anything within our boundaries. So the schools would be within that. I can, or we should be able to separate those out. It might take a little bit of work on that, but I can definitely include that in the presentation.
Are you aware of any problems off the top of your head? going on this year
No,
compared to
no
last?
information about any particular, up or down
Okay.
spike at crime. But that's definitely something that we can dig into. It'll be fairly easy because we can look for an address or we could just
Right.
ask for only the reports from the SRO.
Okay. Yeah,
Sure.
so I was just, my thing that we've talked about several times in this committee is we kind of feel like the one SRO is spread really thin with 4 schools. So I'm just wanting to see, is he able to handle the call load for the schools?
Sure.
Or is it really something we really got to say, hey, it's kind of, we need some assistance there, So
Yeah.
that's the reason I was asking the question. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we
Thank
can
you.
definitely look into that.
thanks, Chief.
Awesome. All right, and let's see, so we're done with that, but coming back to number 3, moving on to the Thriving Communities Grant. Lana.
Hello, yes.
Hello.
So the Thriving Communities Grant is a federal grant through the Federal Department of Transportation. Over a 3-year period, the city and its partner agencies would receive targeted, individualized technical assistance and planning support, including grant applications, project scoping, planning and pre-development, re-engineering, and then capacity building support, which includes training for staff or volunteers on things like how to manage federal grant processes, how to find this money that's out there in the federal world that's very difficult to navigate. And so this grant itself kind of brings together a lot of different aspects. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but it covers a lot. It says it wants to build support to advance pipeline of transportation and community revitalization activities, including mobility, reducing pollution from transportation, expanding affordable transportation and housing, improving health outcomes, facilitating efficient land use, preserving or expanding jobs, enhancing connections to healthcare, education, and food security. So it's a very broad range. And we had applied for this last year. We went through to the end of the process. Our grant application was highly recommended, but there was just not enough funds and too many applicants. But they did recommend that we come back again this year. And so we had identified a few different projects last year. One was evacuation planning. And I know that we've talked about this also in the natural hazard mitigation planning. And this is important for our community. And we don't expect to see, wildfire dangers going down at all. So evacuation planning, and not just evacuation planning, but also when we're doing the planning, looking at how we can address our codes to make sure the new neighborhoods that are being built are built to a standard that makes it easier for them to evacuate. So make sure the roads are laid out in ways that the community can find logical exits, and we're not having traffic issues on the streets during evacuations. So there's a lot, not just the planning the evacuation, but all the things that go along with that. We also had partnered with the community center last year. And when we applied, looking at transportation for couple things that they do. One is their Meals on Wheels programs. So providing those meals to the older Americans who need that kind of assistance. And they've just seen a really increased need for that. And they could really use some assistance both in volunteers and funding. And then also they, last year were looking to purchase a vehicle. They have since purchased a vehicle, but they're still going to need volunteers to drive people to medical visits. And today we talked to the fire chief, and that's another thing that he's very interested in, because there's a severe lack of transportation for medical visits. And it comes to the point where some people are calling for an ambulance to transport them because they have no other way to get. And I don't know if you guys all realize, but we don't have ambulance service in the city. So the fire district contracts the ambulance service out. And sometimes those call times in order to get the ambulance out here can be up to an hour. So one thing besides the medical visit, finding increased transportation, is working with the fire district to try and support them through the grant process for purchasing that ambulance equipment, and then hiring staff the EMS staff to staff that. So those are two of the projects actually three of the projects kind of we're looking at. The fire district said that they would partner with us. We're also talked to some of the private businesses, because this is not just one of those grants where you have to partner with other government agencies. You can partner with businesses too. So we're looking at doing some pre-planning and land use planning in the Mill mixed use area. So the Mill has been a brownfield site. It has been abandoned for a decade now, at least. And we want to get that energized and do something with that land. And the first step with that would be doing the environmental assessments to see what kind of environmental remediation. So what I'm hoping for is you guys might have other ideas for projects that we can put in this list that kind of follow these connections. So, when you're combining transportation and health outcomes, transportation and economic development, transportation and, food security, those kind of things where they're combining those two projects into one. If you guys have ideas for that, you can let me know. Or if you have ideas of community partners, other agencies, businesses, organizations that you think would be great for us to partner with, that we can reach out and see if they'd be willing to be partners. There is no cost associated, but it's a very long time commitment. It is a 3-year time commitment. So whoever we partner with, really kind of needs to be in it for the long haul.
Let's see, veterans groups. Would that be something
Yeah.
We're all getting older, and so are the veterans in this town, especially the Vietnam era. And we do have Korean War and World War II veterans that still reside in Estacada. So if I bring it to the officers at the next meeting
Yeah.
and get you an answer in the future, is that okay?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Because I could see, what is the nearest VA is Portland?
Portland,
Yeah.
know what it is very well.
Yeah. And transportation out there, I'm sure is, it's an issue for everyone.
Good, excellent. Anyone, Carrie?
You mentioned that you had a grant last year.
We had an application last year. We
Oh, an
didn't-
application.
Yeah, we didn't get the grant.
You didn't get the funding.
Nope, we did not.
What was that targeting? What was the substance of the grant? What were you going to use the grant for?
Most of these same projects that I've already mentioned. So the only one that we weren't aware of last year, because the fire district had said they didn't have the staff to support it at that point, and they've since added more staff, was we weren't aware about the need for the ambulance service and if they were ready to move forward with that and kind of the times associated with that. So, but the Meals on Wheels, the medical transport visits, the evacuation planning, and the mill area planning were all in our application last year.
What was that grant? Did you have a number you shot for?
So it is not a funding number. It is technical assistance. So they provide people to do some of the planning, so that they'll provide people to help us do these things. So like if we're looking at doing grant writing, they'll provide people who can help do the grant writing for us. Or if we're looking at doing, say, traffic impact studies, they have people that will do that traffic impact study. So it's not providing money per se, but it's providing the technical assistance to help us be prepared to either apply for the grant or get the money.
So if you have, let's just say ambulance service,
Mhm.
someone would be, their venue would be in that area, and then you would determine for the population or whatever, is that, or you're gleaning from something that already exists? Are
So
you getting a new, like an ambulance, new stuff, or is it something that just expands from another area? How does that work?
So for the ambulance service, right now, the fire district contracts with a company that provides ambulance service. I
Okay.
can't remember. And so rather than contracting with this agency who is already overwhelmed and they're understaffed, is this something that the fire district can bring in-house? So they would be, we would be helping them write a grant to purchase the ambulance equipment, and then helping them, look at potentially recruitment for EMTs, what kind of information that would help them do outreach and recruitment and those kind of planning activities for that.
So it would be in-house, then it would be here?
It would be, yes. So they would be looking at bringing it in the fire district.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Don, go ahead.
So I was reading all this stuff and there's a ton.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the lens of this committee, so traffic and public safety. And so several things. One, I thought I read somewhere that there was 25 million, and I saw three different numbers. They were looking for 30 communities or 40 to 60 communities, something like that. But a lot of communities for the 25 million.
Mhm.
Is that right?
I don't remember the exact number of communities that they're,
Okay.
yeah.
That's page 13.
Thank you.
So, and then as I was going into it, there was, I would follow the links that were in the packet that we got. And so one of the links took me to something called the Climate and Economic Justice Screening Tool.
Yes.
And so I thought I read somewhere that you needed to be considered a
Disadvantaged
community. And so I expanded it and we're not.
So what we're looking at is not city Estacada specific. We're going to be looking at the census tracts because like the fire district does not just serve inside the city. It serves a much larger area. And there are areas in these larger census tracts that are disadvantaged in certain aspects.
I saw just up the highway a little bit, but I couldn't figure out where.
Yeah.
But the other part of that is there's another link and it goes to something called the U.S. Department of Transportation Equitable Transportation Community Explorer.
Mhm.
And so I got down to maybe that's what we were talking about, the census tract, where it's 16,000 people in the population, all sorts of different data. But they had 5 key, measurements. One was climate and disaster risk, environmental burden, health vulnerability, social vulnerability, and transportation and security. And we're considered disadvantaged on 2 of the 5.
Yeah.
But I thought I read somewhere that that's not enough to qualify as being someone that would have a shot at that kind of thriving community thing. We're not disadvantaged enough.
We're not disadvantaged. We run into this in a lot of other grants that I try and write, in that the median income level for the city is quite high. It's quite high for the state. It's quite high, very high for the nation if you compare it to the nation. And so there are many ways that the city is not considered disadvantaged enough. But they have a variety of different aspects that you can look at and say, this right here, the communities in this area is really hard hit. And so you can kind of dial it down and say, when we're looking specifically at the seniors in the community, statistics show that the seniors in the community tend to be lower income, and they'll hit that disadvantage threshold because that's our target, the area that we're reaching for assistance.
Another thing I saw is in the I don't even know where it was. It's Federal Interagency Thriving Communities Network. So it wasn't in the packet that
Mhm.
we sent. I went and looked for it. But when it talks specifically about build community wealth, it specifically says to successfully compete for, leverage, and manage the investment of federal funds. And so it sounds like their idea of building community wealth had to do solely, based on what this says, of being able to get federal funds. This is the second page this is what the page looks like.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure from a sustainable standpoint, especially with the way budgets are and how they can change, that, wanting to throw all our eggs into getting more federal funds baskets, something we want to pursue. And then again, specifically from the transportation standpoint, and this is in the packet on page 7 that we got, item 5, where it says identifying your thriving community of practice. And it says, we'll focus on advancing equity through transportation improvements by addressing environmental injustice, mobility, housing choice, public health, pollution, workforce development, labor issues, and economic development through meaningful public involvement and other inclusive community engagement forms.
Mhm.
And from a transportation standpoint, I mean, we're talking asphalt and concrete and that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure. I just don't get it.
We're talking, when we're talking transportation, we're not just talking the roads, we're talking the needing a ride to the doctor's visit and how you can't afford to have a car. And so you have to use public transportation or, needing to get the Meals on Wheels because they can't leave their house, because they have some kind of either physical disability or they can't afford to go to the grocery store. There's a lot of different aspects that fit within the projects that we're looking at that fit within this. So there's overlap.
On the statement earlier, you made that you didn't get the grant, and then you said because we weren't, as John was saying, we didn't qualify enough as on the needy part.
Yeah.
Is that right?
No, that wasn't that wasn't the feedback that we received. So we made it as a finalist. Our grant application last year was highly recommended, which is, when they have, medium, high.
Score it type.
The
thing.
score. So we scored very high on the recommendation last year, and they recommended that we reapply. Now, sometimes they are looking at spreading out in different communities. Maybe they had, because we applied as the Main Street community focus, right? That's the best fit for our community size. And so if they had too many Main Street communities apply and they only had slots for, out of that, 45 to 60 communities, they only had 20 slots for Main Street and they had 40 apply, they recommended that we apply next year. It wasn't that our application was not good. It was that there was just more applicants than they had slots.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else?
It's real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry, dropping my pen. It says the LOIs need to be submitted by November 15th. When would you need any info from us?
I would like it by the 1st.
First.
Yep.
So we all set on that. That's all you have on that?
That's all I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. All right. Does anyone else have any questions on the grant there? All right. And moving on to the next report the police budget and contract update. You guys have anything on that?
I just had what was on the website. I think that was included in your
Oh, okay.
packet. Yeah, I don't have
All
any
right, Chief,
additional
do you have anything
information.
on that?
Yeah, I
Or
can
what you
add.
can tell us?
I can add some to that, or if you have any questions, I think all that was provided.
Right.
I have that here on my screen.
Okay.
Does anybody have any initial questions on it?
I think so. No.
I can give you, a couple of things. One, this is this year's budget, and I haven't heard the result, but I'm sure that it's completed by now, but the CCPOA, which is the union for our deputies, they've come to an agreement with the county over their contract, and they were voting on that, and so it should be, they're in the end stages of that. So the deputies are going to see a raise, which will reflect in this coming contract for Estacada. So that'll be one change to this. I believe that the city manager noted this, but the police chief position was increased from 0.15 FTE to 0.25, which is quarter time, essentially 1 day a week. And then also included in this budget is, if you look at the pie chart here, the kind of the brown 9% in the 11 to 12 o'clock range there is that covers 50% of the cost for adding another deputy in 2024. That's the deputy we've spoken about, the position that will start in March. How that works is when the city is adding a new position, an additional position, the county charges the city for the training for that one person, and it's spread out over. There's two options. It's spread out over either 12 months or 18 months, but the city begins to pay for that person before they realize that position. And essentially covers all of the costs for their training. The benefit there is that this happens one time to increase the number, but if a deputy leaves the city or moves on from the sheriff's office and we need to replace, which is what we're doing at this current moment, you don't pay that cost again. It's just a one-time training cost. And then you'll see that, the rest of the breakdown with the majority, the large, 50% of that contract is dedicated personnel for the city. So that pie should get larger since we're adding another person in March. And then currently, the sheriff's office and the cities, the three cities that we contract with, Wilsonville, Happy Valley, and Estacada, are currently, we've been working through contract negotiations over our city contracts for probably maybe close to 6 months now. I think we're going to try to get it wrapped up into the beginning of the year, but we're working through that. And the city manager represents the city at those meetings.
Okay. And it says down here, a fifth deputy in 2025.
Yeah, right now the projected plan is that, and this could change slightly, but once we realize the next deputy in March, that we'll be putting in a request for an additional deputy, preferably for 2025.
Okay. And some people have been asking, and it says here, is it maybe 7 or 8 deputies would bring it to 24-hour coverage?
Yeah,
approximately? I'm not putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
Just like,
so
people are asking, what does that take? Less than 10 or?
Um, well, it's realistically, it would probably be, I think that 7 or 8
Okay.
is viable. There's some options that we were looking at, and I think I mentioned it at, I think it was mentioned at the last, our last committee meeting, that we might still go with a few hours, in the, the early morning, like,
Adjust the schedule.
3 to 5, 4 to 6 type, where we don't have coverage dedicated to the city. We'll still have coverage from the East County deputy. And it's just a matter of like, where do we put our resources? 'Cause we're not quite at 24-hour coverage. So, do we try to get as much of that 24 as possible, or do we just place them where our higher call volume is? Because we do have to take into account if, somebody is on vacation or away at training. So when they're gone, really to get that true 24-hour coverage, you need backfill, which makes it tough with a small number.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Jim,
Yes,
can I ask a question?
yes.
On your overtime portion of the pie chart here, when the deputies work the Rangers games after school hours, is that considered overtime pay that they do, or is that part of their assignment through the school and it's a straight pay type situation?
That would be an overtime pay, and that anything having to do with the school would be reimbursed from the school district. So the school district, if they request the SRO to be at the Ranger game, or last week they asked for somebody at one of the volleyball games, the school would pay for that overtime.
Gotcha.
So, a couple things. One, what instigates putting a new deputy on track? Is it population? Is it just, tax income or what?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So it's something that I've been looking into quite a bit. There's a couple different methodologies behind that, and part of it is deputies or officers per as related to population per 1,000. And so you'll see a spread of when you look at cities and their law enforcement numbers, you'll see that some will have, maybe I've seen as low as like 80.86 per 1,000, and as high as maybe almost 2 per 1,000, in that 1.8, 1.9 range. And it just depends on the city. When generally the smaller the population, the higher that per capita number is, especially for, cities with population, under 20 or 10,000, that you'll have a higher number of officers. And part of that is, like I was talking about, with the coverage makes it difficult. If somebody's gone, you can't, it's tough to employ somebody and say, hey, you're going to be the floater. Sometimes you'll work graveyard, sometimes you'll work day shift. And, I don't know until, tomorrow. So that becomes difficult. If the more people you have, the easier it is to make that schedule. And then some ways that the number of deputies or officers is derived is from call response time. How long it takes a police officer or a deputy to get to a call. If you want to lower that response time, you put more officers out there on the streets. And so, there's a couple different schools of thought on, hey, if your per population per capita rate is working for you, then that's what you operate off of. If you want to reduce your call response time, then you have to increase the amount of officers that they have on the streets. And then you could also look into if recently the sheriff's office had a staffing study done, and part of what goes into that is the workload, not just the call response and not just the per capita, but the actual workload, how much work is being done, how much available free time there is for those deputies that are on the street. So there's a couple different ways of looking at it. I would say for Estacada and money is always going to be a factor in that. I mean, in making these decisions. For the city of Estacada, we're definitely behind the curve on that per capita, and looking ahead at the growth that the city is going to see. We definitely want to plan to continually increase the amount of deputies that are here. Because as we're seeing, we're asking for a deputy, and I'm saying that, hey, we can ask for one, and then we'll realize that in a year. I think this last one, it was taking 18 months to realize. There's that other factor of, everyone in law enforcement is looking for good people, and it takes time to find them, and it takes time to train them. And when they're in high demand, you can go work anywhere. It's a lot harder to find those good ones, right? The ones that are going to pass the background check, the one that will pass the academy and be successful. So, we're like any other workforce looking for good people. We're looking for the highest caliber. So having the available workforce is also a problem, because we had to wait 18 months for this one. I'm projecting and hoping that we're only waiting a year. I think things are starting to pick up with hiring and staffing of the sheriff's office, and completion of this contract that I had mentioned earlier is between the union and the county will help with recruiting.
So a couple other questions based on your comments, but the other question I had specifically, and you touched on it, was I've been reading a lot of articles about the hiring issue for law enforcement, but also I was seeing, and again, you talked about it, the range of what they consider proper, I don't know if proper is the right word, but coverage per population. And there was a wild swing, just exactly like you said. I'm wondering if it's that number that's considered safe, or whatever the metrics is it different for a county, like a sheriff's department, versus a city? Versus, because I remember Portland, I read an article about Portland police and what's going on there with their staffing versus the population, and but also it's across the country. I was reading about someplace in Texas too, the same thing. And so is it a different, is it okay to be at 0.6 if you're a pretty rural county, but it's not okay if you're at 2 if you've got a tight community that's got some other things going on or something like that? How does that?
Yeah. I think so. It's a great question. I don't know that I have an exact answer to it, because these policies across the country, right, and throughout our state they're determined by the city councils and the city managers of what they want coverage wise within the city. And I think factors that go into that are just like I said. What is I'll give you an example. If our one deputy that was on duty here is running from shooting to stabbing, I could tell you right now, you need more police officers.
Right.
Fortunately, that's not the case. So if I will confirm or agree that we are behind and need to increase the amount of police officers in the city to be at what you might say is a comfortable level. And that might just be that we have a dedicated deputy in the city 24 hours a day. That may just be that's the comfortable level for now. When you grow, to 10,000 in population, then you're saying, okay, well, we need additional deputies or police officers will plan for that. And then you start looking at that response time, you know, what is adequate? And you may have, like I said, money plays a factor, right? Crime plays a factor. So if you're in a high crime, if your city has high crime, then you would have to see a dedicated or a commitment to law enforcement to help reduce that. If the city is affluent with a high tax base, they may say, hey, we want to be on the high end of this per capita police officer per thousand, just to deter any issues, and if they're willing to pay for that. So there's just so many factors in that. I think that what I would suggest the focus for specifically for Estacada would be that we're working toward 24-hour coverage, and we're working toward being at a level of law enforcement that you feel comfortable with. If, we'll start looking at the response times, are we comfortable with this? Your question about, is it different in the county? It undoubtedly is, because the sheriff's office has a strategic plan, and the goal is that, that we're responding to calls in the cities and in the within 5 minutes, and whereas in the county it's within 20 minutes, and that just has to do with the vastness of the county. It's so spread out that you need that extra time to be able to respond to the calls.
John, can I just ask a quick question, building off what you said? Do you have a reserve deputy program?
We do.
Okay. What would be the problem with bringing some of those guys out here to fill in the coverage? Why can't we do that?
So that is a possibility. Part of there's a few problems with it, and that is, one, our not just our agency, but a lot of agencies have seen their reserve ranks kind of diminish over the last decade. We had some really good reserves that were with us for many years and willing to volunteer their time, and now they're going off retiring and doing other things, and we really haven't filled those ranks back up. We're looking at how to revamp that program at the moment. They need a certain level of training to be out on patrol by themselves. Otherwise, they need to be in a 2-man car. The other part is that we have to be careful that we're not supplementing volunteers into what should be a paid position, because then you'll have some issues with the union contract. But we do use reserves, and we have used reserves for, we mentioned earlier, like a football game. If we posted overtime for a football game and a deputy didn't sign up for that, and we wanted the reserves to come out, they could come out and work a football game. Reserves can volunteer their time and just come out. If one wanted to come out and patrol in this area, that's they're more than welcome to. The sheriff's office only has a few reserves that are at that level that they can patrol on their own, which makes it a little challenging.
So just 2 quick ones. We had talked at a previous meeting about, in terms of measuring coverage, about call response time and how that's been the focus out here.
Mm-hmm.
But if I remember right, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was slow. I mean, it was below par. And so if the call response time measurement is below what we'd like, and if the number of deputies per whatever population is below what we would like, it seems like it'd be this is kind of looking at you, this seems like it's a prima facie case to turn up the heat and see if we can get more law enforcement help out here. The second thing is, and this ties in with what you were talking about, is I didn't even think about a reserve program, but is there any type of academy system through, junior colleges or high schools or something like that, where you can kind of build your own, grow your own. Since law enforcement, good law enforcement, people are in such high demand.
Yeah. So that part of the question, they're in the state of Oregon. The only way to go to the police academy is being hired by a law enforcement agency. The reserves, they generally hold like a reserve type of program. There used to be one that was run a cooperative effort between a few agencies, but like I said, a lot of reserve programs have dissolved, and so did that academy. So we're trying to figure out how to get that going. A great program that we have right now, and we've had for many years, is our cadet program, where we're teaching youth that are between 15 and 20 years old that are interested in law enforcement. We put them through a regional academy that the sheriff's office hosts, and really get, answer their questions, get them some exposure to this profession, and help them determine if this is the direction that they want to go. We've hired a lot of our deputies out of that cadet program, people that have, turned 21, decided they want to go into law enforcement, or maybe they've, they're a little bit older, but they still want to go into it. They were in the cadet program before. So that's something that we spend quite a bit of time on. I know that we're actively trying to figure out how to revamp our reserve program to make that more successful, to see if we can get other people that are interested. Yeah. And then the first part, initially, I think initially what happened was, my recommendation was that, yeah, we probably should increase the officers here in town. And we put in a request over a year ago for a new officer. Just the wall that we were up against was we didn't have another deputy to give, right? Just recently we had to pull some deputies from some special units to put them back on patrol until we can get some people that are in training out on the road and have some relief there. So I've no doubt, if we had the deputies to give, if the city of Estacada said, hey, I'll take 3 more deputies tomorrow, that that if that request was made, that we would do that. We just don't have the deputies to give at the moment. So I think it is getting better. And like I said, if once we get to March and we realize that new position, I think it'll, instead of 18 months, I'm optimistic that we're at like 12 months at that point for another deputy.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Question, this is just probably a demographic question, but when you have officers coming in, do you ever take guys from the military coming out? Do they come in?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a deputy I met today that it was his first day, and he was in the Army.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very good. Awesome.
Yeah, well, and I'll throw a plug out there. If you guys know anyone, we're always looking for good people. Sat on some interviews last week. We had several people come in to interview for recruit deputies. We've got some lateral interviews next week. And like I said, with the new contract, I'm optimistic that we'll be seeing additional people apply.
What's the age cutoff?
There is none. If you have the ability to do the job.
Think you signing up?
Why didn't say it yet?
We have great benefits.
Asking for a friend.
What is the age? What's the age limit?
No, as long
That's
as you
gone?
can do as long as you can do the job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's good. Uncle Sam says 57, so. All right. Excellent. Well, thank you, Chief. Appreciate that.
You bet.
All right. So let's see. I have it here somewhere. Moving on to updates from Public Works and City Manager. All right. I don't know if anyone's read that. Pretty good things going on.
I can give you a couple little updates
Thank
that
you.
are more recent than this.
Oh, great.
So I'm sure you've all seen that the paving is done uptown. We're waiting for an improvement in weather to do striping. And we have the flashing signs and they're assembled, they're working, the two signs are talking to each other. We just need a little break in the weather to install them. So those will be going up, within the next week or so. And then the Main Street improvements, so the lower Main Street, we got the bids in today. We had 16 bids, which is
Wow.
we have not had that many bids for
Just out here for this
just for this section.
bottom of the hill to 224.
Yep.
Wow.
We had 16 bids, which was amazing, ranging from about 1.4 million to just over 2 million. So the engineer is going to review the bids to make sure that they all meet the qualifications in the bid proposal. But then we will be selecting the lowest bid. That's how that works. So that will be awarded at the next council meeting.
And that's just, you whittle it down from 16 to
We
who's eligible,
so
and that gets put on the list to share to city council and
we look at the lowest bid. The lowest bid, as long as they meet the eligibility requirements, that is the one we select.
Okay.
So if they don't, then we'll go to the next lowest bid.
okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
And let's see, get some traffic safety requests received. I think there's a few. There's one on Lake Shore, I think, one on Pierce, and then one on Oakview. Just jumping forward. I think we can wait. We have one more meeting this year. If we could finalize a game plan on how to read these, and we can come up with that at the next meeting. Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Right. All right. Good
Jim, was
stuff.
it you last meeting that brought up that speed limit issue on Eagle Creek, that one direction you're going, it says it's 25, but the other it's going 45? Did we look into that? Anything? Where there's like what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I
It's
do.
confusing.
So part of the problem was, part of that is county road, part of it is city road. The county is going to be coming out shortly, and I don't have the exact timeline, but they're going to be coming out shortly and doing so the speed measurements to see, if they can adjust the speed. So
Fantastic.
That's the little billboard they have out by the Grace Crossing Church. I saw the county put a little billboard out there in regards to it. Is that the same traffic study? It's like right across the street from it, that empty lot.
I don't know, maybe. Yeah, yeah,
It's out by almost Deuce and Eagle Creek.
that probably,
Okay.
yeah.
Right.
They said shortly. They didn't give me a time.
Exactly. Next year.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see, installation of guardrail at the bottom of Cascadia Ridge. I think we've been talking for that for quite some time. That's good. More information to come. Installation of 25-mile-an-hour signs in neighborhoods. Public Works will be ordering these signs after March 2024. Recommendations on locations where those signs are needed. Anyone have any recommendations other than the ones that I've made? In Cazadero Heights or Campanella or Cascadia Ridge? Anyone? Okay,
Just my neighborhoods, the streets are so narrow that, and there are trucks and stuff parked. The only people speeding are crazy. Because there's kids and it's, I'm usually doing like 15 or 20 going down, from Reagan.
Reagan Hill.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean,
And you have a stop sign there too.
not that you guys should park there. You'd make a mint. So I stopped, by the way, I'm a committee member. So I guess it really determined on the streets, how big they are, because people just being reasonable, they can't speed up my way because
Right.
it's just too tight.
Right.
So.
So put 3 or 4 on your street.
Yeah, thanks, pal. Well, they'll ignore it. I mean, the ones that, if they're gonna ignore the stop sign, they'll
Right.
just pull me over for going too slow.
I do like the, speaking of signs, that stop sign over here by the liquor store, how it's on that tremendous arm. And it's like looking down at you like you're in a truck and it's angled at you. So I throw that in there. All right. Well, thank you, Elena, for that. I think that's everything on that. Yep. All right. And moving forward to Lawrence Road, Coupland intersection. So Evelyn, I was wondering if you could pull those up for us, please. And once you get there, I'll turn it over to Mr. Dobbs, the man with the ruler,
Tape measure,
tape measure,
yardstick.
yardstick.
Okay. This is almost a 90-degree turn as you're heading west into town. And you take a right on Lawrence off of Coupland. Kind of rebooting this. We've shared this with TSP and stuff. And I noticed it became I believe it's coming a priority to work on that. Just in this front point, hopefully, without the full-blown package of the rest of the road and the bridge down below and all that stuff. So I think that's gonna happen, hopefully. But that's the culvert there you can see is smashed, broken. It's concrete. Next, a little blip there. And so that was about 2 feet out, about 27 inches actually out from where it was broken. It was a full circle. Vehicle cut across there. It could have been at night. Who knows how this thing rolled out, but there was damage done to the vehicle because the parts were on the other side of the road. This is just update information for this corner, but like Jim and I had taken these photos and stuff, but the difficulty is the bus or any tandem axle vehicle that makes that corner has to swing to the left into the oncoming lane to make that corner if there's a car over there. And even if there isn't, you still have to rotate to the left and then come in. So your back wheels aren't over this corner. So I'm not the engineer guy to do this, but we've done work like this before. We, extend the culvert out and then backfill, excuse me. And then, compaction and then pavement. So there's a process there for the folks that do this stuff all the time. They could look at it and throw a number at it or whatever. But it's basically this right side where when you're making that right turn. And it's kind of duplicated on the other side, but it seems to be that the flow of traffic with the school buses are coming in on this area onto Lawrence and then heading north, so that they're heading down into the new subdivision area, which is proposed by TSP to have that road widened and everything. And that's a good thing because of the developments. Next blip, there was coal patch there where the road was broken away just north of that culvert. They did that because it was falling apart. A lot of heavy trucks coming in there now for construction. Next blip there, and that's the right side of the culvert. As you're heading south and then taking a turn to the right on, which would be west onto Coupland. So that's kind of cracking up there, but there's more of a sweep there. As you can see, you can ease your vehicle around the corner, and you don't have to go out to that white line to do that, but there's more of a pleasing curve there. Next. Once again, this is back on the right side as you're turning right. And so the road needs a little bit of an attention there. So But mainly where you see the start of the coal patch, the dark stuff, that would be coming around the corner, probably sticking out about 4, 5, 6 feet back this way for a sweep so that you do not enter into the lane where Jim's truck is parked. So it's just kind of a mechanical thing there. Just needs
So,
help.
You guys are welcome to make recommendation, but until that area is annexed into city limits, it's
Mhm.
not a city street. It's a county street right now.
Right,
Okay.
that we got that information. Let's somewhere it seems to me that there's this thing we could say, hey, let's make a deal. You know, I mean, you got. It seems to me that there would be in some kind of a give and take thing on these things where you could get somebody to say, let's split this thing or whatever. I mean, if it's a money deal, it's like understanding that's the county on the right side, cities on the left side. We know this thing's gonna bump out in the urban growth boundary. It's coming.
Yeah.
So negotiate? I don't know. It's I don't know who's the negotiator, but it seems like it would be able to, let's work together here somehow.
Yeah, no, I mean, we would gladly make a recommendation or put in a request to the county. It's kind of hard to transfer jurisdiction for streets. It takes work, and it has to be annexed into the city before we can transfer the jurisdiction.
So is it is it possible to get a, I think I asked Taylor this, is to get someone to bid this job? I mean, does that cost money to bid the job? If you have a contractor say, hey, give me a number on this thing.
Yeah, because in order for Main Street to bid, we have to have our engineer write up the specs. And so then we pay our engineer to do the specs, do the spec book, handle the bidding process. And this costs us a considerable amount of money just for like the lower Main Street. We're looking at, $20,000-$30,000 that we're paying for engineering.
For an engineer? What,
But I mean, this is a lot more complicated than say Upper Main Street, which was considerably less. So depending on the project, engineering can be considerable.
so would you take bids from general contractors that are in the area?
Just somebody coming to bid to do the job without having to,
Well, they would be a qualified construction, LLC. They'd be licensed and they would do this stuff because there's tons of companies out there that do this. And you
Mhm.
say, hey, they have to do the code. Everything has to be done to code. So saying, we need 3 bids on this corner. I mean, to me, I understand the line county versus city.
yeah,
Anyway, I guess it's just my nature to say, hey, give me some bids and let's talk to the county. The county says, oh, well, it's gonna be $80,000 and we have bids for 40,000. I mean, I would like the negotiating thing. Let's make a deal, but that's just me.
Isn't the boundary of the urban growth boundary in that area, isn't it that one side of Lawrence Road?
The coal patches.
yeah. So but it's still not annexed into city limits. So it's in the urban growth boundary, but it's not in city limits. So until it gets annexed into city limits, we can't take over ownership of the road as a city road.
Okay, what if we go over 30 feet and then give them 30 feet down the road back? No.
I mean, we'd have to annex it in, and I don't think any of the property owners over there want to annex into the city. And that's part of why we have not expanded out there.
So that's been breached or broached.
Not that specific. Yeah, not that specific
Later.
location, but we have some other areas in town where we have like little islands, and it becomes kind of a little hiccup where you have part of the road owned by the county, like when we're talking about Eagle Creek, part of the road owned by the county, part of the road owned by the city. And so, breaching that, having that discussion with them on these roads that are partially owned by them, partially owned by us, how can we negotiate for these sections? But this is like Lawrence Road is entirely right now, not inside city limits.
And it was how much? 7.5 million from this point all the way to the new development. Straightening out the curves.
Yeah.
Wasn't it that? It was significant amount of money.
It was a lot of millions.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
I don't even think that was that part. I don't think that part was included in it. It was further down.
Well, one of the commissioners from the planning commission said, well, how wide is this? I don't remember how much it was.
It was like 24 feet or something. like that.
Because he goes, I don't know how we're gonna get 60 out of that, out of Lawrence. You're gonna have to go in and like you said, property owners.
Yeah.
I don't remember the projected width that would be coming that that the traffic folks said that would happen, but that gully going down in there, that whole thing is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even, I don't even think they calculated a number on this corner yet. I don't know that they did,
Mm-mm.
I don't think so.
but anyway, so it just seems like it is a traffic safety hazard.
Yes.
And that's kind of a label that you could use to the county. This is a traffic safety hazard.
And I certainly think, there are some things that you can request them to do right away, like replacing the culvert, because this is an
Right.
repair issue. But, maybe the widening the curve there, that is probably something you make a recommendation, and it's going to take them a while to decide where that falls on their list of priorities.
How do we get that going?
To send them a recommendation?
Yeah, using the statement traffic, this is a safety issue at this corner.
Yeah, let me ask the Clackamas County, the person who's been serving on our TSP, what Clackamas County's system is for doing that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then, well, on the mechanical end, they have to run that thing out at another 10 to 12 feet. So if they're gonna extend the culvert that's broken, this is just a mechanical thing, but to extend it out and then backfill and put the pavement around the corner, it's done. So that's the hands-on way to fix it. But I understand. That would be good, Elena. That would
Yeah.
be very good. And then you'll get back to us?
Yeah, I'll probably, I don't know that I'll attend your next meeting, but I'll at least send it over to
Okay.
Evelyn, and she can include it in your.
Do you want to show the current and Deuce intersection compared
Yeah,
to this one?
let's, Elizabeth, there's some more. little
Thank you,
blips
Evelyn.
there.
That's what we wanna see.
Next one, let's see. Next one. Next one. Okay, let's try one more forward. Oh, no, oopsie doodle, back.
Guess I should ask you, huh? Which ones?
Those first ones that we were looking at were the ones that were labeled Deuce and Current.
Yes,
Yeah, you were. Okay, this is the radius right here, where his feet are.
Mhm.
It's not reinventing the wheel, it's just duplicating what's on Current and Deuce. And it's the corner that was 90 at this point, and now it's made into a sweep. So it's, once again, mechanically, it's the same, it's the fix right there. You just, there it is right there. It works there, both sides. Anyway, I'm done.
thank you, Gary. John,
With all the new construction, do we have data on or actual numbers for number of new homes that are occupied per month? It seems like they just go boom and they're ready. Are people actually moving in? Are families moving in?
Yeah, we could run a report on the certificate of occupancy, which is what we issue when they're ready to be moved in.
And I can tell you how many I've done. I do the C of O's, so give me a minute. You guys keep talking.
Okay. And so, and where I'm going with that
Mhm.
is, getting into town, that Lawrence Road seems like it's gonna be a quick and easy way until all of a sudden it's not, when
Yeah.
you've got a lineup of 30 cars wanting to go out. And so the traffic is just going to increase, and whether it's exponentially or not, I don't know, that ties in with how quickly people are moving in and where to exactly. So that would be an interesting number
Yeah.
to help in the conversation.
And I think there's a speed study or something in the TSP specifically at that intersection of Cemetery and Coupland.
Yeah.
In the TSP
In
at
the
a
TSP,
high
yeah.
priority. Because when I come out of Shafford and I'm trying to take a left to take my granddaughter to River Mill, I'm in my truck. So it's not a big deal, but I look and every time I turn, there's already someone there right on top of me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's every time. It's not sometimes, it's not Mondays. It's all the time.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to get into town, but they're, forget with there was a light there with the 25 flasher. But like John says, it's,
Yeah.
gotta get to work,
Except committee members.
except committee members. All right, excellent. And lastly, before we do the committee business, can you put up the, what we found over at Estacada Lake? Evelyn, thank you. Can you start with the, oh my goodness, below the, what did I put down? Below the red trail, below the Red Fox, I believe. If you can see that.
Red Fox.
Yeah, thank you.
Road.
Okay, that's one of them right there. Right below the Red Fox Hotel, you can see in this picture in the maybe 50 yards or 75 yards towards the bridge, you see someone making some type of structure. I'm pretty sure it's not to, not take the sun, but probably not to be seen from the river. And my concern is everybody loves Estacada Lake and the Clackamas River here. And I was shocked that, you have not just this here, you have one a little bit further down on Acacia, which we found some little, I don't want to say fire pits, but places where people were trying to burn fires. And then 10 feet up from that, it says no campfires, no camping. And then those signs, I think Carrie put up one of the signs because it had been pulled out of the ground. And the other one was smashed so bad you could barely tell what it was. Go ahead and keep going there. And you could see all the wood getting ready to keep building the structure there, overlooking the lake. And keep going, please. And then that's off in the distance, and you can see it right up to the little ending of the mesa there. And keep going. Okay, this is at this where you come out onto Acacia area there. There it is.
Yeah. It's, down there, there's a lot of vandalism. Of course, there's graffiti. But there's also a lot of needles and, it's habited with people quite frequently. Bedding, just things that perhaps are stolen, stereos and stuff like that scattered around. So it's an active area. It's kind of an eye opener to walk down there. There are little niches where they've taken shovels and dug out to get flat ground. And as Jim in one of the photos we took for future platform or lean-tos. So there's a little community down there.
And can you go to the next one, please, Evan? And this is just below the Cazadero restaurant on the, what is it called? I don't know if it's the spring water corridor, all the way to the bridge. And this is what we see down here when you go to eat at the restaurant. See it right outside the window. So this is the way working towards the 211 bridge. And if you go to the next one, that's just if
You can see the bridge in the background there
Right.
as you turn right and head to Malala. That's up there.
Go ahead and go to the next one, Evelyn, please. I just
Oh.
keep going through. Okay, this is right under the bridge. Both sides, you can see the mattresses on the right side. Obviously, you didn't put every picture in there, but there's clothing, there's food, there's everything there for people residing there. And keep going forward. And this is 180 degrees towards the Estacada side of the bridge. And my concern is go up to the top of the bridge, and I think Carrie went up there. I'm not sure. I think it was you, right? People are living up there, but on the right side, you see the two columns together. You can just walk up there and walk into our water plant. Go to the next slide, please. And this is another access where it's just completely wide open into where we treat our water. I was just dumbfounded. I had no idea this was there at all. You go further, and this is the pipe that comes out. I'm not sure if it's from the Cazadero Heights neighborhood or the plant. And then this is where it drops in to our water source here in Estacada. Keep going, Evelyn, please. There you go.
This area here had a lot of needles around it. It's like as the water runs down, it comes over rocks, and there's some areas there where it's kind of just peppered with stuff.
All right, can you go forward 1 or 2, or is that it? Okay, all right, thank you. So I just wanted everyone to know that taking a jaunt over there with the mayor, seeing what's actually going on, and I was been here 7 years and I didn't have a clue at all. Go ahead, John.
Two things. One, I remember specifically, but I don't remember what meeting it was, but we were talking about where we get our water from the river, and it's there, and it might be one other place.
Just there.
And so, and we talked specifically about protecting that because that makes us vulnerable to whatever, anything. And this is mind blowing. Because my understanding was that it was secure.
The intake pipe for our water is 8 feet below the surface out into the channel of the river.
Right. I actually kayaked by it looking, wow, that's it, that kind of thing. But it actually leads to the other question I had is, be it the pipe or be it someone with a shovel or a pick or something like that, at what point is this infrastructure, be it the water intake or the bridge itself, is it possible for someone with a pick or a shovel or a sledgehammer or something like that to do enough damage that it needs to be closed and repaired? I thought I remember specifically in Portland, one of the bridges, I guess they got in underneath it and they ended up having to, I don't know if they had to close the bridge down for a little bit, but they had to do a lot of stuff underneath to make it safe.
Mhm.
And this looks like it's staring us in the face.
Yeah.
No, I'm not sure. I mean, walking past the trail in the Cazadero, it says PG&E, or below the trail to the lake
Is PG.
is PG&E.
Yeah.
But we all enjoy the area, and I'm sure, you know, seeing the vehicles down by the Red Fox, and we always see the same ones.
Yeah.
And it's just that, you know, it's all in that area. And, you know, people contact us, you know, on that side on Lakeshore, and they've had things stolen at their residence, and it ends up exactly where, you know, that little like structure,
Mhm.
things were found there and recovered. And it's just unreal that it's not that far away, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, 1,000 feet, 1,500 feet from a person's house, but they decide to bring it there and live there with a Just a little shocking, that's all.
Yeah,
Good
go
job.
for it.
Yeah, I'll weigh in.
Please.
I took some notes here and
Appreciate it.
just looking at the map and whatnot, and I'll have the deputies take a look at that and make a little project out of it for sure.
Okay. If you need our help, let us know.
Yeah, sounds good.
Be out there with, I mean, I wore my boots, I
Yeah.
work boots, so,
Yeah.
you know,
Like
Yeah.
get the steel toes
And-
out.
and-
yeah, absolutely did.
And
Yes.
we
You need
can-
to become
we
a
can-
reserve before you go back down there.
Yeah, we can coordinate with PGE and the sheriff's office to see what
Okay.
needs to be done down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's no, I was just trying to think, are there any other jurisdictions?
Yeah,
The
the
bridge.
bridge is ODOT.
Okay.
Yeah, the bridge is not, it's not ours, it's ODOT.
And I didn't put in like all the other graffiti.
Yeah,
I mean, there was a lot,
yeah.
you know, maybe the kids or the high school kids could do something. You know, helping out, I don't know. But I think it would just, you know, benefit everyone in the community that, you know, whether it be a cleanup or something in the future moving forward. Especially if any type of redevelopment is done down here at the river, that was our concern. You know, you had a plan from 2011 or 2015, you know, with a pedestrian or, you know, bicyclist bridge over to McIver and then,
We are actually
Restaurants or-
working on so the Lakeshore Trail, which is kind of behind
Right.
where the community center is. There'll be a trail that goes down with a ramp into the water and a gangway
Okay.
out into that dock out in the water. And we have that plan. We have, you know, agreements for the use of that.
Okay.
And definitely once it gets developed and you have more use, having that continued use discourages this kind of, because if there's somebody watching them there, they're not going to be camping
well,
there.
and then people parking.
People
that,
parking
you
and
know,
regularly
Come
using
back
it.
and might only have 3 windows.
Well, you know, and
Don't want that.
I would recommend that, you know, I'm glad people are calling you, but I also recommend they call the sheriff's office.
We have said that. Yes, absolutely.
Because
Please report.
you guys can't take care of it like the sheriff's office can. Yeah.
No, I'm retired.
Yeah. Please don't take care of it. Please call the sheriff's office for them to take care of it.
Got my Spurs a long time ago.
You know,
Yeah.
just a comment though is, because what we're talking about is if people start using it, the people that are potentially abusing it will be less likely to hang around there.
Yeah.
And that makes me think of, you know, my daughter works at OHSU, so she goes there and she was using public transport. And we talk about the things that she has personally witnessed that I can't even comprehend. You know, when I was that age, the sorts of things that kids her age, and that's normal. And it's just awful. You know, the learning and not just on transit, it's like walking around, not anywhere, that's embellishing, but you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And, you know, the skill set, knowing that you see somebody acting a little crazy, so you make sure you keep your eyes this way or that way. Or she was telling me stories of someone would come in and every single female would get up and go. And the last one out, the slowest one, was the one that often had to interact with whoever was instigating that. And that's awful. And so, you know, if there's an opportunity to get in front of that curve, you know, because the lake's beautiful.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so making sure that, you know, someone can go walking down there and not worry about having to puff up or something like that, that would seems like a reasonable goal. Just a comment.
One other blip, we didn't go to the other side of the
Mhm.
bridge, but there was a guy over there and it's in the photos. So there's kind of on both sides of the thing.
Yeah.
It's not just this.
There he
side.
is.
Yeah.
That guy there.
May also be worth noting, like working retail. So always look at retail theft of, hey, we locked up this, where are they gonna go to next? So if we develop this area, where are they gonna go to? They're not gonna leave. Where are they gonna go now?
Yeah.
So future state looking at, kick them out of here, where are they gonna go? They're gonna go somewhere.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Evelyn. Appreciate it. I know it was a lot of photos. So thank you for your patience. Appreciate it. All right. Anyone else have anything on that or anything we discussed? All right, moving on to committee business. Discussion of applicants, Christina Adams, Abraham Smith, and Tasha Terrell. Would you like to do a 1, 2, 3 and send it to the committee, city council? Or do you want to pick 2 people and send it to the city council? It's up to you guys.
You're asking,
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, yes.
I'm assuming that.
And the ladies are here. They
Yeah.
are here, yes.
How about make a motion that we put forward the potential committee members that are present right now? I'll second that.
Okay, so motion for the applicants, Christina Adams and Tasha Terrell that are present
Yeah.
for tonight's meeting to be forwarded to the city council. And a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, thank you.
Hey, welcome.
Well, almost.
Well, I don't know. I don't know, they've witnessed now.
All right. So does anyone else have anything for the next meeting? That's November? Am I right? Ron? We have one more meeting this year? Because I think ours is December 26th, so that'll be no meeting for sure.
Well, isn't Thanksgiving right around then? I don't know where it falls.
Yeah. Do you guys,
December
do
26th.
you guys need to look at your November?
Oh,
Okay.
so we're good there, right?
Hey,
Okay.
Jim.
Yes.
I want to go back to the talking with Chief Mendoza about the reserve program.
Okay.
Is there a way we can promote that more? Either through our webpage or in the meeting or in conjunction with the chief getting some information out? Because I think there's a lot of retired law enforcement in Estacada that might be willing to volunteer, but they're just unaware that that's an option. I think maybe just listing, hey, here's who, what we're looking for, here's the qualifications, here's kind of, what the job would be. Now where I'm from in Oklahoma, I don't remember that the reserves got paid, so that's still probably the same here, or is there a salary with that?
Correct. It is a volunteer position.
Right.
There are some duties that
Pay.
do offer pay,
That's the
but
same thing we
yeah.
have. Okay, but just give that information out and let people go, oh, hey, they're short-staffed. I'm not doing anything. Maybe that's where I could plug in and then get a hold of him. I just don't think a lot of people know. And maybe we have a few out there that would take advantage of that. And that would kind of solve a whole lot of our problems with coverage and response times. It would just fill that hole. So can we explore that for the next meeting somehow? Get
Absolutely.
coordination with the chief to figure out a way to do that,
Sure.
get the message out.
Do that.
and I'll do a little research on where we're at with that program. Last week, speaking with our patrol captain, I know that he wasn't recommending, so when we have applicants that come in that we're not selecting for a patrol position, sometimes we recommend that they get some more experience and join our reserve program first. I know that we were holding off on recommending them while they're revamping that program. So let me see where that's at, and I can
Okay.
report back next month and
Sure.
maybe give a timeline for when we're ready for that.
Awesome.
So, and I have a question. So Neighborhood Watch, does Clackamas County have a Neighborhood Watch liaison who could come out and do a presentation to this group? Potentially have that be recorded. We can share that on their social media and try and get more interest in the community for the people who live in these neighborhoods to start a Neighborhood Watch in their own streets.
Yeah, absolutely. If that's what you would like.
Like-
It's Sarah, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
I think that would be very helpful.
we
I know-
just started,
You dig up those numbers?
Oh, yeah.
which is touching base with her before the national night out. She was very responsive for that. Go ahead, Brian, sorry.
Yeah, so for October, I've done 7 C of Os, a couple up on the hill in like Cascadia Ridge, and then most of them have been on Current Creek Drive.
And how many were there?
7 for
7.
October. And then September, I had 9. So it slowed down quite a bit. We're not selling as fast. And you two, the next city council meeting is November 13th. And that's when you guys will be recommended to the city council and they'll approve it or not. So if you're approved that day, then you can come to the next TSP or not TSP. I said that's many times. This meeting.
Yeah. Long day.
Yeah.
Awesome. Does anyone else have anything? Ladies, you have anything? Any questions or? No? Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate everyone coming out on this wet night and definitely adjourn the meeting this evening. Thank you.